Hello, everybody. So we are past the halfway point now, starting into module 5. Moving along quickly. Oh, I'll get the admittance for him. Got a few things to look at today. This audio and video is coming up in an upcoming assignment, but the way the textbook does it is a lot like the picture element that we saw near the beginning. A video element, HTML video tag, and an HTML audio tag. They're fairly straightforward, just assign it to a source, the file. There's things with Boolean, so we might look at those really quickly. Boolean attributes, we don't have to actually assign them to anything. Like when we have the width on an image, we say width equals some number. But something like showing the controls in a video. Do we want to show the controls, or do we want the video to be autoplay or something like that? Those are Booleans. And for those, we just put the name of the attribute and we don't actually have to assign it. So for the case of displaying the controls beyond the play button, right? The play button is going to be there no matter what. But you might want other controls like the little meters so you can skip around the video, or the speed controls if the browser shows those, things like that. To turn that on, you just set controls, and it's a Boolean. So if you write the word, it's true. If you leave the word off, it's false. We'll see that in class. Really easy. Some people like to go ahead and put controls equals controls, so it's consistent with the rest of the stuff. But we don't necessarily have to do that. But there's a better way. We can pull video right from YouTube, audio right from Spotify, all sorts of things along those lines. PayPal buttons. Facebook like buttons, or embed Twitter feeds right on our page, things like that. And then some other widgets that might be useful, or look at some stock market widgets, but they're one of a large category of small applications that wouldn't be a standalone thing, but we can embed them right in our page. Lots of things like that. And we'll get started talking about tables and forms this week. I thought right before class, I realized that I could show this here as well. So in some of the other software development classes, I asked the lab technicians to set up, we get some Linux machines to work on. Programmers tend to prefer Linux machines. There's a lot of reasons, and most people, especially starting into school, are on Windows machine. So you might want to kind of see them. So I set up 4 virtual machines, and I wasn't going to show it in this class, and then I realized right beforehand that a Linux machine is how we create a domain host. So we start by looking at how easy it is to do that. So they're on our local network with the GRE labs. That's generic routing, encapsulation, a big fancy word, but at the School of IT, we have our own computer labs with different permissions than the school at large has, because it's not enough permission to learn IT well on the school's system. So we have our own labs here. So you have to remotely access the labs here on campus. So those of you all who are in the classroom, you can just do it on the machines here, but if you're somewhere else who want to remotely access it, I thought I would go ahead and let you know the machines are there. So I just sent out the instructions to remote access the labs right before the recording started. So in an announcement, you'll see this PDF post of everything. Basically, you'll just follow this link, and the machines are set up with, there are some machines set up with Beyond Trust. They're in a stack of machines in the closet. I think there's like 12 or so of them. But you don't want to log in. It's one of those you want to use let the software in the background handle the really good, secure logins for you. Something more secure than username and password. So you just have to click this link at the bottom. So instead of the regular login, use this SAML authentication. or SAML. I guess that's the standard for IDs. If we can't pronounce the acronym, we go ahead and try to. None has enough vowels and consonants to easily be pronounceable. So you'll log on to your Ivy Tech account, which this is an Outlook server. That I log in for Ivy Tech is actually using the email exchange server to log in. And then it gets all those really good security protocols from Azure and passes those back to the remote access. That's why we don't use our username and password. That's why we don't type in our username and password. Let it all happen on the background. And the GRE labs are 158 and 162A with Sellersburg. If your home campus is a different one, you might see your local GRE labs that might have something similar. Or if you just want to do this, check out these machines and let me know. But I'm also going to show another way to check a Linux machine, set up a Linux machine. You're used to use Windows. So I'm in 158 right now. I'm just going to click 158. You can see which machines are available. Any of them that are turned on. Looks like those two. I need to go hit the power button. Whenever you sign out, make sure you hit the sign out button, not the shutdown button. Some people are just in the habit, which kind of usage is every once in a while somebody just goes through, opens the closet and makes sure all the machines are powered up. And then you're just remotely accessing this other machine. So log on with your credentials here. The user account is still active. So SOIT guest, School of IT guest, all one word, all lowercase. And then it's Sellersburg, but there's an extra E in Sellersburg 2022, but there's an extra E in it. I should type it somewhere so you can see it. Oh, I'll put it in the chat room. It's a great place to type there, isn't it? Username, SOIT guest. Password. So I put that in the chat room. A lot of people are used to how to spell the word Sellersburg, so that throws them off. I know it threw me off a few times, so I got used to it. They put an extra E in there. Is everybody logged on? I should write on the board for those not logged on there. While that starts up. SOIT, yes. I'll write that really big. So capital L or capital S. And then after the L, two E's in Sellersburg. Instead of the actual way to spell it down there. And once you're on here, we have two ways we can remotely access these machines. So I wrote the IP address up here, 10.81.110.213 up to 216, 4 machines that are set up for software developers. And the Zoom buttons are in the way. I'll try up here. And so we can either use SSH, which is secure shell protocol. So if you open PowerShell, all the ones actually in the lab are Windows machines. They'll all have PowerShell on there. I don't know if I can zoom in on this PowerShell. This is one of the things with remote access. I'm pretty sure if I hit Control plus, the way I always zoom in on PowerShell, it's going to zoom in on the browser, not on the remote machine. Same thing with Control scroll. So I don't think I can zoom in there. It's taking a long time to go. Should be a prompt coming up soon. We just need to connect to this one of these other machines. There it is. So type in the instruction SSH. It's running really, really slow. Might be the internet connection. You all on the video hear me okay? that machine do it? There we go. So SSH. Can I make this bigger? Size. Nope, that's not the right size. Gotta be a menu so I can make properties. Size. There we go. A little bit easier to see. So the SSH command, which is secure shell, then you need the username and the IP address. So the username and password on the Linux machines are student user, all lowercase, all one word. And you don't hear me on the video? The microphone just made a really weird noise. Okay, thank you, Andrew. The microphone made a really weird noise, so I thought that might have been a reset or something. So student user at, and then the IP addresses are 10.81.110, 10.81.110. I don't know why that is typing so slow. Oh, my cursor was somewhere else. 10.81.110, and then like 213 is one of those machines. So it'll, you'll see a message like this pop up asking if you want to connect. It's like this connection has never been made before. Is this okay? So just say yes. And the password is also student user. Let me put those IP addresses in the chat room as well. In 81.110.213 to 260. So the 213, 214, 215, 216 change. Everything else is going to be the same. And that gets us to this Linux machine we can set up. And well, we've been using a domain host. Right now, this is a blank Linux machine that I just logged into. Nothing's been done on it before. So I want to turn that into a web server. So to do that, sudo, which is super user do. So that's the instruction, the admin access on a Linux machine. So sudo, then app is a repository where a bunch of things are stored. Sudo app install Apache 2. And I'm going to do Apache 2. That's the upgrade. The domain host we've been using is Apache 1. So I thought this would be a good place to see Apache 2. And then we need to enter the password again. It'll go through all of these things. I can't tell if it's done or not. My window's too big. Try to make that all fit on the screen. There we go. You want to continue? Yes. And it just has to download all the stuff and install it. Very, very quick. I'll show you how to do this on your own local Windows machine here very, very shortly as well, if you'd like a local thing to start testing with. But once I put this one on here, this will also be a server y'all can use. You have a username and password. And the only thing lacking is where do you upload the HTML files in order to see them across the internet. So after that last command, hit up, I can get back to it. So sudo apt install Apache 2, and then sudo service start Apache 2. Oh. So unrecognized service. Oh, I did that backwards. There's two ways to do it. System control, you type start and then the software. And as a service, you type the software and then the instruction to start. So no error message is good. So I open the browser here. There are some standard IP addresses. If y'all weren't familiar with, you may have seen some of them before. 127.0.0.1 is the machine you're on. By default, unless somebody went through and manually changed that, that's the default for the machine you are currently working on. Y'all have probably also seen 192.168.0.0 or .0.1. That's the router you're on. That's your local router by default. A lot of people change that one though, because that's a standard for a router and anybody nearby could get to that. Oh, so nothing on there. We come back over here. So it didn't recognize the local machine, but once I put Apache on there, I'm typing this command, IP address and pipe that, get grep, I'm gonna put the word in it. So I just filtered a bunch of stuff down. That's a fancy instruction you don't necessarily need to worry about. But I grabbed all the information about the connections and filtered it down, and there's an IP address right here. So the one that I just typed in to get to this machine. I put that in the browser, should be able to see something. So there's the default Apache page. So that Ubuntu server over in the other, but that Ubuntu machine over in the other room is now a web server. We need to upload files to it. And to do that, let me change directory, but I go back to the top directory. There's a bunch of files set up for this. Right down here is one called var. This would probably look better with the pictures, huh? Let me log off here and I'll cd in var. There's a folder called www. And in there is a folder called HTML, and you upload all of your websites to that. So that's kind of like the HT docs and the one we've been using. So remember var, www, and then the HTML folder. You just upload folders, and then the top level of the HTML folder is what you get if you put the domain into the address bar. If I exit out of this, there's another way we can log on here. Exit PowerShell. I hit reload. We can see that server is still running. So if you want to remote access into the GRE labs and upload your stuff there, it doesn't go out to the internet at large, just in our lab, the network of our labs here on campus, on the Sellersburg campus. Some of y'all are from elsewhere in the state. So you have to log into the Sellersburg ones to see it, but that first part, those numbers, that's for machines. We can type them directly in, but the words that we use, like when we went and made up a name for our domain, or when we talked about last week with domain name services and buying a good name from a registrar, that just takes the place of those numbers because humans have trouble keeping track of those. Machine can keep track of that. Another way to access it is that they're Windows machines. So if you hit the start button and start searching for remote, you should see remote desktop connection pop up pretty quick. These do all have remote desktop connections. So you just make a connection to the same IP address. .10.81.110.213, I think is the one I was just on. And I think it's yes here. Okay, and I hit yes. I kept getting that wrong the other day. I kept not reading the message, and I'd either click yes or no, and then it turned out to be the wrong one. Really should have read the message this time. Once again, I just remembered what I did the other day. Like, I think yes was the one that finally got me in. But then this gives us the desktop view of that machine, which I'm remotely accessing machine that is remotely accessing the machine. So there is a little bit of lag there. If you're in one of these labs, it's a little bit quicker because then you have a Cat5 cable running right over to the server. They're connected to the same switch. I didn't realize I was asleep. I was just doing that something on that machine, so I expected it to not be there. If it looks like this, you can come up here and click this activities, and then that'll bring up your applications and all that. Where you can see what's on there. So terminal, there should be a file explorer here somewhere. I don't see a file explorer. I'll install a file explorer later. What's in stored applications? Oh, apparently there's not a GUI version of a file explorer on here yet. Oh, there it is, files. And sort of the same thing. So if you go up to the top level, so if you haven't used Linux machines before, by default, they're always going to try to start at the home directory. So you need to go up to a level above that. I'll just type it in here. Yeah, if you come up to the top bar and type slash, or when you double click on it, you should see Ubuntu. And from there, you can get to that var folder, var, which has www and then the HTML folder. So any web pages you upload, which are there. So right now it has the default index. But notice how it has that weird half grayed out icon. I mean, as soon as you put your own HTML files, as soon as a human puts something there, that file gets deleted. It's already set for deletion. It just hasn't been deleted yet. So that's there. That's all it takes to set up an Ubuntu server, and then we can log out this one, I think. But we don't need to close it down. You can just close the remote connection with this X here and get back to the Windows machine and close out of this. So either one of those works to connect to those if you're in the lab. I would highly recommend getting this practice with remote access. Like just a moment ago, I had no idea how to zoom in on that. I usually use Control Plus, but that's not going to work on a remote machine because it's going to go to the browser, not the other machine. And then when you're done, just sign out of the thing. And log out of Beyond Trust or close it. You all know how to do all that. Yeah, it's a common thing. We've been using Linux servers for our domain host this whole semester. There is a new thing on Windows. So if you open your terminal or PowerShell, if you push Windows X, that gets to all of your control system stuff. And under terminal or command prompt or PowerShell, whichever one of those you see, there is a Windows subsystem for Linux. You type WSL-install. If you don't have it already, that will put a small Ubuntu system on your machine. A better way to do that seems like an easy one to remember. WSL for Windows Subsystem for Linux --install is if you search for turn Windows features on or off. This one does require a restart, but down at the bottom of this list, there's hit the checkbox for Windows Subsystem for Linux. And while you're here, you might want to go ahead and check the checkbox for virtual machine platform. and hypervisor, which is going to be listed different on every single, depending on the manufacturer. You should see something about hypervisor or graphics acceleration. It doesn't hurt to turn that on. Modern machines are plenty fast enough. Back in the 1990s, it made sense not to waste resources.
What's the other thing you said?
Virtual machine and Windows subsystem for Linux. That one does require a restart. And then after you do that, if you go in that way, you go to the Microsoft store and you can just download any Linux right from there. Doing it this way, it actually makes it a native Linux on your machine. If I come in here and go to all apps, I already have it turned on mine. So Kali Linux. There's a whole bunch of Kali Linux tools that will run natively on the Windows machine. Don't even need a virtual machine to do that anymore. Come over here and just search for Linux. You can get full versions of Ubuntu, which that would be my recommendation is search for Linux and choose the full version of Ubuntu. Or, yeah, 22.04 is the latest long-term support. LTS stands for long-term support. So usually when you go look for software, you want to, if there's a bunch of options, look for the most recent version that has LTS. That means they think they're finished debugging it. So the team of developers has moved on, but they left one or two people behind for maintenance just in case. And they're going to be doing that for the foreseeable future. So always look for the LTS versions. And then you can install a Linux machine right there on your local machine. So I have a couple. I'll go back over to Ubuntu, which I just had a big bug to track down on something over the weekend. So mine was just reset. So it's like a brand new clear installation of Ubuntu here. So do the same thing. So sudo, well, really you want to do sudo apt update. And after that runs, do upgrade. Make sure you have the latest versions on everything. I'm going to skip past that and do sudo apt install Apache 2. And your password, and this will give you something, a Linux machine to test on. Because some of y'all probably noticed that when you get it working on your own machine, you upload it to the domain host and suddenly it doesn't work. Usually it's a case sensitive issue because Linux is case sensitive and Windows is not. This will give you a Linux machine so you can test it here and then only upload it once at the end. So that's installed. So then once again, sudo service Apache 2 start. Is it not a service? Sudo service Apache 2 start. Is that not what I installed? Sudo I have to install Apache 2. Yes. Okay, I don't know why that's on. Failing. So it. I'll try that little instruction they put there. Fix message. Okay, that time it worked.
What was it?
In the message that popped up, it said try with fix missing. So I just did the same command and put that on the end. Actually, I can push it up. Yeah. So the error message said try adding this into the instruction. And that fixed it. Or it didn't give an error message that time. So sudo service Apache to start. We're gonna do this one. Oh. Let me restart this. Okay, I'm not sure why that's not working. Let's- Unregistered. So, oops. WSL unregistered Ubuntu gets rid of that. So I just kind of wiped that clean so I can start that up, start it fresh. Which hopefully won't take too long. We'll come back to that. It should be those instructions. I was making changes on the WSL system over the weekend, so I might have messed something up. Is probably what happened. I'll just leave that running and we can come back to that because there's some other more direct stuff that we need to look at as far as what this course is about. I'm just going to show that to y'all because it's a useful, it's useful to have a nice testing environment. Well, things can go wrong. There's one other thing I wanted to look at. I've been making some adjustments on my personal site. New way to and stuff. There's, look at a blog here. There's nothing worth reading in these blogs. This is random thoughts over the past few weekends. As I tested the actual thing I was making. What I wanted to look at was pull up the page source. That looks an awful lot like what we've been doing in this class, right? We've been making files like that. This file never exists. That stuff is grabbed dynamically from elsewhere on the internet. When the page is requested, it's grabbed from several spots around the internet and put together so that the end result is that file. And then the HTML tags added in. I've alluded to that a couple times this semester. I wanted to actually show that because that's what the client received when I made that request. And there's, it's random thoughts over the last couple of weekends to test the actual thing I was making. Those things on the blog page will probably all be deleted. That site is actually for game tutorials. Tutorials on game engines that don't have good tutorials out there. Because contrary to what it seems like when we go to YouTube, I can look at the source code of a game engine and figure out how to use it. And then make tutorials that don't look like I've watched one of the other tutorials for it. Which I'm doing that because that seems like a good place to go with ads. That's something we'll probably look at this week because that's a nice thing. Not many of our classes are immediately monetizable like website development. It's really, really easy to get those on there. If I go pull up this thing, so this is an Apache server. This one's running on Google Cloud Platform. So over on Google Cloud, I have this little, this small server. It's about the smallest size server available on the cloud. And some random storage. So some of this stuff is over in storage. Others is being put together. But there's a Linux machine running there. So you can just remotely access it. And it's doing the same thing. So if I change directory into var www. It's on Apache too. On Apache 1, it's up at the top levels. You just do /htdocs to get right to that folder y'all are used to from our domain host. Oh, I need to go into the level blogs. is where it is. Yeah, so, I open a text editor with climate.php. That's what the web page looks like. So it's just a PHP object with some pre-built functions. And this is what the actual web page looks like. But after a client requested, they get all of this. That's what this course is building towards. If you're going to be a web developer, you're not going to sit there and write those HTML tags on every single thing you do. Sometimes you might, because that'd be easier than putting a big object, than working in several different languages and data scattered all over the internet. It'd be easier just to type the tags to begin with. But a lot of times you're going to do stuff like this, where, this function, it grabs it from somewhere else on the internet and then adds a bunch of HTML tags and stuff, and then puts it together dynamically on the fly. That's what this course is building towards. I just thought I'd take a moment to point at that. Oh, all this is up, and I'm pointing at stuff. I had to deal with this over the weekend, so server set objects. So down here in this function that I was just pointing at, if I take away this semicolon right here, and come over here and hit reload on the page, we get a 500 error. A 500 error is there's no error message. Something went wrong. We can't, there's no way to identify what went wrong. Well, looking at stuff, might as well point at that. Some of y'all have seen that in other programming languages. But there comes points where we don't get error messages. Most of your stuff in your classroom, you'll be working in settings where every time something goes wrong, you'll get an error message. But that's not always the case. I just took away one semicolon from this code, and it completely crashed the server. I can't access anything on that server. The server says 500 errors. Nothing works. I had to download the files and go in and track down the missing semicolon from elsewhere, because it crashed the entire server when that happened over the weekend. No error messages or anything to help narrow it down. So know that that does sometimes happen. You get used to everything that you'll see in a classroom was specifically designed to fit in our very tight. There are some other things to be aware of, but I've alluded to that a couple times this semester. That's where this is building to. You're not going to sit there and type the HTML code every time. You're going to write other programs that write that. And then maybe an artist will drag their mouse around, and the program you write will make a bunch of HTML tags based on how the artist dragged their mouse around. That's one of the pathways of people taking this course. So, but before we can write a program that writes HTML code, we need to be pretty familiar with HTML code. That's how we get so much practice in this. The CSS, we still write that. We use that everywhere. Even on the drag and drop ones like Wix. Did everybody see that email I sent out this morning? Anybody contact that guy? It's just some little odds and ends. The website's ready, but then he had a couple ideas, and when he contacted the firm that built the website, they were too busy. It would be long after the book's release date before they were able to get those little tweets on there. So we contacted the employer connections. So I sent that to everybody in the 153 and 155 classes. It's on Wix. That's one like WordPress. You're gonna drag your mouse around. You might do a little HTML, but on those we still type the CSS. The GUI packages, graphical user interface packages for Java desktop applications, all take CSS. I just use Python and the TK interface package. The upgrade on that came in the late 90s, TTK, that takes CSS. So we use CSS all over the place. It's a standard for things. We still type that one, but the tags are a little bit different. I just wanted to point at those things. And this is stretching out. I just started a brand new Ubuntu machine. Let's see if this works this time. I may not have completely reset it after I was finished testing things yesterday. I probably need to do this. So sudo apt update. That's probably why it was failing. I mentioned update and upgrade, but didn't actually do those. And it looks like there's a lot of packages that needed update. So then sudo apt upgrade -y, because otherwise we'd have to say yes every single time. So update just looks at what's there. It's like these updates are ready, and then upgrade actually installs them. And you want to add -y, so you don't have to type -y every single time. I'll move that back out of the way and look at the next thing. So now on to some websites. Tables and forms are pretty straightforward. I think that's the homework assignment this week. We'll look at that on Wednesday, because I want to look at the audio, video, buy buttons, because several of you all have project proposals where a buy it, go ahead and put in a shopping cart in there would be great. And we can get a finished shopping cart from PayPal to just embed right in our code. So I want to look at that stuff first. The pre-made things that are ready. I guess we'll start with a simple web page. Let's see, documents. Lead, what's a good name for this? This is embeds. Embedded. I'll do embeds. That seems more unique. And I'll make an index page for that folder, index.html. Like we've seen many, many times. CSS, I don't think we'll need the CSS. Oops. Okay. Oh. Control H, what I accidentally hit there, that's find and replace. Very, very useful thing. Like if you want to change a tag name, you might have those tags everywhere. Or the CSS property might be everywhere. We'll see CSS variables soon. So you can just change the variable value, but instead of looking through all your code, you have the computer find and replace and then replace all of it with one click. That's usually a much better option. Computers are way better at typing than humans. Humans make typos constantly. So I'll do the setup stuff here, turn off word grab, embedded things. Good name for this. First off, the one that's in the homework assignment, they give you some audio and video files, which I'll just go grab. Real quick, I don't think I have any. Well, I can download a YouTube video, I think. YouTube added a download button recently. Here's something that's old and might not be in there. I recommended this the other day. Okay, here. So there's a download button, so we can download the video right here. Oh, no, gotta pay for downloads. I'll skip that. We're going to drive. What do I have here from the last time I taught the course? Or a previous time when I taught the course. Spring 2019. Looks like I didn't save stuff. Tables, related format. I don't see anything there. Let me go back up here and try spring 2020. Oh, yeah, there's oh, work. Video. Audio. Do you have a question? Were you just stretching?
I was just stretching.
Oops. Don't delete the audio, download that. And just in case, since this is 2023 and there's a pretty good chance y'all don't have any audio or video on your computer either, because that's on the internet, we just go there and get it. I'll send this out real quick. Send a copy of it. Yeah. In here. Oh. Wrong button. That causes problems with my Indiana State account if I stay logged in, because they use the same login and same multi-factor authentication. So when I click yes to stay logged in, it becomes random which email I can see. Both schools' IT departments tell me that doesn't happen. And like, they're even like not even looking into it. They're just like, oh, that doesn't. They're just in denial and click deny it and close the ticket immediately. And it becomes random which email I get to. And I have to close everything out and clear the cache and try again to get to the right email. Yeah. Here are files for this example. I wasn't even going to show this one because it seems out of date, and this is what the book shows. So it's on your homework, so we might as well look at it while we have a minute. The other part will go quickly, and look at odds and ends for so long. It's coming on time for a break after we look for these two, and then we'll see the modern way of doing this. All right, so y'all should have those media files. Leonard Cohen song and the Lucinda Williams song. Always, every time I've taught the course previously, I would find different music to download every time. So just like with our pictures, put them in the same spot or someplace easy to find. And we just need those names. So I'll make it, put this in the head. So in the, I'll put them both in the header. That seems like a good place to put them. So we have an audio tag for the source, and yeah, nothing really surprising here. I'll just copy from this. Control copy. It's an MP3, so paste that MP3. And in the audio tag. So just copy and paste the source in there, and that should be enough to do that. I'll do the same thing for a video tag. Y'all probably could have guessed this part. That's why I wasn't really going to show it, but there are a couple little things we can change. I'm just going to copy and paste the name, because I would probably make a typo on that name. And it's a .mp4. So nothing fancy there. It looks just like the image tag, right? Except that we do have an open and close tag. We can't really put anything inside between the open and close tag, so it might as well be just one. So there's a video, and audio is not showing though. And that's where that other parameter comes in. So on audio, if we add this controls, which is a Boolean, so we don't have to set anything. If we write it there, that counts as true. That should give us that. So there we have all the controls to control the audio. Some people like to put controls equals controls, so things like that. Autoplay, but I am not a big fan of autoplay. It bothers me tremendously whenever I go to a website and it just starts playing music or videos. So just type the word autoplay if you want that for some reason. I guess there are situations where it's appropriate. But if it's a Boolean, something that's either a yes or no, true or false, binary states, we either have the controls or we don't. All we need is the word. And same thing for this. We have controls and autoplay, and that's probably the only one you'll look out here. We haven't looked at any Boolean properties. Did I share with audio? I should make sure audio shares sound. There. So then I can play. It's gonna be back really bad. Because yeah, I'm standing right in front of this, but.
You can play guitar. Cool to be forgotten. Hey, hey, too cool to be forgotten.
Nothing real fancy there. That's what your homework assignment has. They gave some files for it. I think this one has just an audio. The coffee shop might have a short video. And the vet clinic might have a short video. I think the other two have just audio files. So the one with the cabins, just that word they keep using just seems odd to me. It's a cabin. You're in a cabin for a couple days, but it's they'll give you the files you need and you just put them in with audio or video tag. But that seems a little outdated to me. We have better, more modern ways to do that. So let's look at what we would do. The reason I don't have any audio or video on my computer was the time doesn't seem all that long ago. Some of y'all were probably really young then, but computers were mostly filled up with audio and video files. We'd fill up half to 3/4 of our hard drive just to get our music there. We don't do that anymore. I'm pretty sure I don't have a single audio or video file on here and I haven't missed it at all. So this is a little outdated, is what it seems to me. Let's look at a modern way to do that after a break. 10 minutes sound good? There were some odds and ends I wanted to show you all, warn you about that semicolon thing. If you're ever working in PHP and you suddenly get the entire server crashes and you can't get any error message or anything, that's probably a missing semicolon. But I dealt with that over the weekend, so it was fresh on my mind. I alluded to the other thing, and then the Linux server is there. We finished upgrading. We'll look at that after a break. I already said something about that. People are hopping out of their chairs here. So my laptop says 156. We'll get back to it at 206. See y'all in just a moment.
I have a question.
Yes.
So